Now, the person that you see on your screen is Satyendra Nath Bose. S.N. Bose was an Indian theoretical physicist and a mathematician, and he was born in Calcutta in 1894. He is one of India's finest scientists who was awarded the Padma Bhushan. The Higgs boson, or the God particle as it is widely known, was discovered in 2012, and it was confirmed the BEH mechanism and Higgs field, allowing researchers to probe further in their understanding of matter. The boson in this was named after Satyendra Nath Bose, who laid the foundation of the God particle along with Albert Einstein. It is important to note that Bose was never awarded the Nobel Prize, although there were other scientists from other parts of the world who researched on his concepts and received the Nobel. Historically, India has been home to the best scientific minds. Aryabhatta was the first of the major mathematicians, astronomers of Indian mathematics and astronomy. Aryabhatta's place value system, which found its mention in the Bakshali manuscript, was clearly in place in his work that led to the formation of the concept of zero, shunya. Brahmagupta, another Indian mathematician and astronomer, was inspired by Aryabhatta, and he was the first one who described gravity as an attractive force. He is credited with the first clear description of the quadratic formula. Then came Sushruta, whose advances in surgery still have a wide influence across the globe today. Vaccination, rhinoplasty, eye surgery, they were all practiced and well known in India long before they were introduced in the West due to Sushruta treaties. Now, from these legends, we then had the world's best in the form of C.V. Raman, whose work on the scattering of light led to him winning the 1929 Nobel Prize in Physics. His discovery is still known today as the Raman effect or Raman scattering. Now, the International Journal of Science, Nature, has written an article on how India can become a science powerhouse. They base their article on India's prolific research output. India has made excellent advances in space thanks to ISRO's work, but a lot more needs to be done. India's supercomputing capabilities are not amongst the world's best, and although work has started with Aryabhatta and others, India only has 3 top-ranked supercomputers across the 500 in the globe. So from AI to supercomputers to quantum computing to big data, what needs to be done to prioritize this and restore India as a scientific powerhouse it was always meant to be? Let's start this conversation. I'm going to bring in Group Captain V.N. Jha. And so it is heartening to know that the globe is recognizing India's potential to be not just an economic superpower, but a science powerhouse that the world looks at and emulates. And I have given you examples that have been replete with these individuals who brought India international fame with their inventions, with their discoveries, with their research that have spellbound the entire globe.
Thank you very much, Megha. You know, there is no doubt. I mean, we can continue debating for hours. What was the Indian prowess in science in the ancient times? No, we can continue thereafter, but we cannot just rely on to the past. Past is past. What is happening today is the science has rightfully taken a space where you have to have an evidence-based abstract. What were form? What were directions? What were dimensions we are venturing? There has to be a reproducible evidence, and that is where the modern science comes. And this is one area we often find, because we have had a past in which our independence, our thought process had been made captive by agencies which were inimical to our knowledge. So with that, we have been suffering a lot. And that is the time when many things came from abroad, which today we call it science, which today we take a measurement or we take a dimensions, or we take a clue, or the scale of measurement with that particular Western minds of the science. That is wrong, because we had a science, again, my opening words, that was absolutely phenomenal in the beginning. Today, when we are talking of something, when there is Nobel Prize to any of the scientists, when a scientist makes something absolutely new to the thinking process, that is very much required. But remember, we in the modern schools, when we are learning as a child anything, we must be explained those five basic principles of science. And if that happens in our primary school and secondary school, I can assure you that the lakhs, millions and millions of the students who will be coming will be having that mind of analyzing.
Yeah.
And that five basic questions of science: what happened, why it happened, how it happened, when and where it can be abstracted, in whatever form that we want to. So that is where we are right now lacking, because the teaching faculty somewhere, unfortunately, is lacking that sort of magnanimity for giving to the student who could be explained this. Maybe that teaching faculty which is there in those places of primary and secondary may be lacking themselves that knowledge of, or the wisdom of analyzing that. Unless that happens, we will suffer this. But the day this happens in the primary schools, in the secondary school, we have got the utter tinkering, we have got so many other things coming up now. If we have that mind of analyzing why, what happened, why happened, how it happened, when and where
Right.
it can be
Right,
manipulated,
sir.
we will have the answer to everything.
Absolutely. I'm going to also get in Wing Commander Sudhakaran into the conversation. And while we talk about AI, while we talk about quantum computing, while we talk about computers, and we have a long way to go. As Group Captain V.N. Jha was saying that, the stepping stones to achieving all these great accomplishments is to start young. And therefore, the effort, the push that is given by the West on STEM education is something that has been inherent in our country. Because, the finest, the best of the mathematicians, the best of the chess players are born in India. And that has been the focus area traditionally in the Indian households as well. So, how do we, translate this natural acumen of our students, of our children, and bring about the deliverables that are required?
Thank you, Megha. You've actually put forward a very difficult question of sorts. In fact, last week I was in Delhi discussing on this very same issues with the top-notch government officials. In fact, I had written letters to them airing my concern on the path and trajectory that India is taking in the realm of AI. We are just not only underspending, but our discourse is terribly distorted. Not only is it distorted, in fact, when the co-founder of HCL, Dr. Ajay Chaudhary, in a LinkedIn post wrote that India lags at least a decade behind quantum, I had to satirically write and remark to him to say that we can lag only when we are in the race. To me, India is sitting in the audience. We are not even started the race. That is the reality if you actually go and look into what is happening behind the doors. I have scanned the country's academia. For the last 10 years, I've been doing this job. I've gone to all the IITs, I've gone to all the PSUs, the DRDO, and you name it. I've gone and seen and probed internally. And let me tell you the fact that we are nowhere near where we are supposed to be. To put things in perspective, the large language models, which rules our discourse today, we are happy writing APIs into them. In fact, most of what we claim, people are writing wrappers and fooling the investment community big time. They're getting billions of dollars in funding by writing just wrappers around it. There are no foundational original models built across anywhere in India. They've not even started a reasonable effort. When I say why they've not even started, the kind of GPU clusters that you need to build these, they're nowhere to be seen here. In fact, I met a couple of startups. In fact, I was at a couple of summits last month at Delhi. wherein there were a lot of guys who came from outside, and they said that we just had to go out because the R&D environment is pretty stifling here. The quantum mission has got 8,000 crores announced a year back, but we don't know how to spend it. Because we have concerns, because the political discourse is a big problem in this country. If today the government even decides to give any startup beyond 10, 25 crores, it is going to be seen with a magnifying glass, and then they are going to be put in the same league of that Ambani, Adani, jingoistic cry that these people do. How will business flourish? So the political narrative is the biggest reason why Indian R&D is not being able to actually see the kind of funding that we are actually supposed to see. So, Prime Minister Modi has actually given 1 lakh crore in the last budget.
Yeah.
But the problem is, how do you channelize it? Yeah. There is no way.
So, but do you think now, the government is stable, political will, despite the kind of consultations, despite the kind of opposition that is being witnessed from the political parties, will not hamper the agenda to build R&D centers, agenda to build the Make in India campaign, whether it is defense, whether it is physics, whether it is quantum computing. Are we edging towards a future that will have all these aspirations kept in ambit to ensure that growth of India is certain?
See, I'll quickly tell you this, that, the only hope is Prime Minister Modi, because he has some unique ways of getting things done. So if he gets through this election by somewhere around June, probably he'll set some of these courses, horses in the right direction, and probably we'll see some kind of developments. But for that to happen, we need to cleanse our power corridors, because there are a lot of jokers who are absolutely clueless as to what they're doing. They know zero about technology, and they do policy decision. This needs to be cleansed. And I hopefully think that Prime Minister Modi is going to do that.
Okay, all right. So on that note, let me also get in Dr. PSV Rao. We have the state-of-the-art equipment. The best of the best doctors across the globe are from India, and they travel overseas. How can R&D be utilized in a bid to promote Indian medicine, in a bid to promote Indian surgery, which we already see a lot of inflow of medical tourism that takes place in our country? How can it be amped up further?
Good evening, Megha, and to all the panelists and the viewers. The way you can get international recognition in a field of applied science like surgery and medicine is to be able to have your data properly sorted out. Because unless you have your data properly, the scientific community worldwide is not going to accept your claims and your discoveries. So that is something we have to work on. Because what I find is that most of us don't maintain proper data. And if you then start claiming anything, it won't work. I'm a reviewer for the World Journal of Surgery and for various other journals. I find a lot of stuff, not only from India, from all over the world, lack this problem, lack this requirement. Second, I very much appreciate what Group Captain Jha said, that we need to inculcate a sense of inquiry into the younger generation, so that they start asking why, how, when, where, and start questioning everything. And I am very thankful to my mother for having inculcated that into me when I was young. She was probably India's first lady electronic engineer, and she used to keep insisting on this. This is why when you asked me, one of your anchors asked me on the NewsX as to why are we going to the South Pole of the moon, it is my sense of inquisitiveness that I had found this out as soon as the rocket was fired. We want every youngster to be so inquisitive. Start questioning anything and everything. And instead of teaching by rote, we need to get our youngsters to start questioning. And we shouldn't, teachers should not only help that, they should not feel offended if the student starts questioning their whatever they are saying. Second, at the college level, all all industries are complaining, the STEM industries, saying that these graduates from the college are not good enough to do the practical work. Now, two things I expect these the IT and various other technology companies, and including the pharmaceutical industry, to do. You start training them. Why are you depending on the colleges to train the postgraduates? You start training them. Make them worthwhile of the training. And the other thing is, all these companies have a CSR budget. Why don't you also have a big R&D budget? Why should you be trying to borrow technology from abroad, buy technology from abroad? You develop the aircraft engines, you develop the supercomputers, you develop all these new technologies in information technology, in telecommunication. We should be the leaders in 6G. And like Sudhakan said, that we need to also develop the various technologies. So there is no shortage of money. It is only a question of getting it done.
Yeah. Sharat Kohli, quickly coming to you, and there was a point that was made by Dr. Rao about how our research needs to be up to the mark, that should then comply with international standards. And I remembered what happened during COVID, and the vaccine that was indigenously created in India, Covaxin, found a number of hurdles when the World Health Organization refused to credit it as a credible, certified it refused to certify it as a vaccine that can be utilized across the globe. And they were the hurdles that were faced. Again, an example that I had given in the introduction of my debate, that Satyendra Nath Bose of the Higgs boson fame did not get the Nobel, but it was Albert Einstein who did. In a situation, it is also a tussle between the developed West and the underdeveloped or developing South. How do we find ourselves at a position that the West is then compelled to take notice of what is being done, applaud it, recognize it, and acknowledge it as well?
Well, good evening, Megha, and good evening to my fellow panelists and all the NewsX viewers. Well, I think there's a problem of acceptability also. I'll address the issue which you said at the end, that when we speak to the West, somehow, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but they can't digest that an emerging, a developing economy like India can develop a vaccine. So the problem, if I would not hesitate to say that the problem was more of acceptability, and there is a certain degree of envy that how this nation of snake charmers can develop a vaccine. So for me, the glass is half full. I beg to differ from my previous couple of panelists who are looking at glass half empty. I don't say that the glass is entirely full. There are a lot of deficiencies. We were only 0.64% as far as the budget allocation is concerned. On R&D, Megha, I think that by itself speaks volumes. But the fact that we developed an indigenously developed 5G, the fact that our vaccines went through, there were political reasons and there were geopolitical reasons why there were hiccups in between in approval. Finally, we found that the Chinese vaccines were useless. Our vaccines work. That's one. We developed indigenous 5G, as I said. We've gone to the space. We are the first ones to land on the south pole of the moon. Our startups may be lagging behind. I agree that only 40% of R&D total expenditure in India is coming from the private sector. 60% is coming from the government sector. And that too is not being spent properly. I completely agree with that. But the speed at which we are progressing, today we are making aircrafts indigenously. So you can imagine with such a small allocation and such a small commitment, and even if I agree with my previous couple of panelists, that with such a small effort, which is minuscule, in front of what the West is doing, somebody said that we are not even in the race, we are the audience. I would again beg to differ, even if we are the audience for a moment. Well, despite being in the audience, if we can do this much, imagine when we are in the race. I'm using his words now. Imagine when we take the plunge, we are in the race. Where can we go? We can, I think the Indian mind is an extraordinary mind, and we have been victims of politics, international politics. We have been subdued, we have been curtailed, we have been snubbed time and again. But I think this India is a changed India. 353 new universities coming up since 2014, Megha, is an achievement by itself. We've got All India Institute of Medical Sciences coming. We've got so many IITs which have been set.
Yeah.
This government, and I also beg to differ, Megha, that only Prime Minister Modi can do it. Prime Minister Modi alone cannot do it. He is a man who can get the task done. He knows how to get it done. He can't go to the universities and set up laboratories there. He knows how to get the task done. He will get it done. We have seen the difference after 2014. It is just that the past 65 years were terrible. So we are carrying a reflection of those past 65 years. We are trying to reflect them over our last 10 years, which I think would be incorrect, Megha.
Okay, all right. Coming back to you, Group Captain Jha, now as has been mentioned by Sharad Kohli and my other panelists as well, what is the way ahead? Keeping in mind that we have all these deficiencies, keeping in mind that till now our largest export is skill. There are people who travel across the globe. We have the TCS, we have the Wipros that are set up across the globe, and they actually provide people power. And that needs to be converted into, you know, when you get the jet engines from United States, or you're getting the drones from Israel, or you're getting these submarines from France. How soon do you think that this transformation can happen? What is it that needs to be done at this time? And do we have the money? Do we have the power? Do we have the political will to fulfill it?
Megha, I would like to answer your last part first. Do we have political will? Well, as on today, we certainly have political will. And there is a very overt sort of effort in achieving those milestones, what are required to be developed, or what are required to be achieved. You know, Chandrayaan or any other program that you see, that is one of the examples. And there are many such examples. When you say that we have got today so many of unicorn, they're all startups, small things from where they have gone into the status of being unicorn. No, this is one small example. But I'll give you a slightly more bigger picture. I have been both user and developer or designer in the technology, in the user in the Indian Air Force and designer in the DRDO. Look, there is no dearth of fund. Whatever project I have had handled in the DRDO, whether as a project member or project leader or project director or the program director, there is no dearth of fund. That is the reality of the last 10 years that I can tell you, that there is no dearth of fund. We can do anything that we can think of. But what Sudhakaran had said, that somewhere we possibly lack that acumen of coming equipped with the knowledge. Fair enough. If we have not come equipped with the knowledge, then let's develop it. Today, when I'm sitting on the chair of developing or designing a project, first thing that I need to do is do the brainstorming session. That is the first and foremost. That puts me into the bracket to understand where we stand, what is our knowledge, where the world is there and where I'm there standing today with the project. So if we had done that small work, then the subsequent path is open to me. And that is not only in the DRDO, that is everywhere in the technology. So what Sudhakaran had said, that as perspective to the AI or any other things, where we claim that we are far behind or some other country is far ahead of us, it is true. But then there has to be a starting point. The starting point will be in the schools. So let the schools take it up there. Let the projects, the research projects take it up there. And I have also seen, Megha, a stage of research in which PhD was to be purchased. You pay so much of money and you purchase the PhD degree. Yeah. So those days are gone. Today, there are students, there are faculties who are in the research. And the same research, whether it is the sociological research, whether it is the fundamental research, whether it is the scientific research, you continue thereafter. And you only dwell upon what you have received. And that is how it is going to show us the way tomorrow.
Group Captain, Wing Commander Sudhakaran, now, there is quite the gap that needs to be filled, because at one end of the spectrum, we have schools on the grassroots level, where children have to be dragged to these classes by providing them meals. There are teachers that are not available to give them education, to teach them. There are certain places where their schools are not even available, and children have to travel to another village to get education. And on the other hand, we have ISRO, we have the startups, we have big plans on quantum computing, we have big plans on artificial intelligence. There are semiconductor plants that are being set up. There are state-of-the-art education facilities that are being given to the richest of the rich, who have the facilities, who have the opportunities. How fast can we bridge the gap? Can this development happen parallelly? And can the same opportunity, at least the bare minimum of the opportunities and the facilities, also be provided to the students who are less fortunate, who do not have the money, who come from different lower strata of the society?
See, as far as the bridging the gap, as far as bringing equity into education is concerned, the government is doing a lot, right? And that is not a very big problem to address. They will be able to address it because today the political discourse is changed into, there is a lot of transparency, there is a lot of accountability, and the governance is being questioned in a very, very serious way. So, the state government, central government put together, there is, far more better commitment we see today than it was 20, 30 years back. Now, are we perfect there? Probably not. But are we getting up there? So today, if you actually look at the report of the Human Resource Department, the enrollment ratio right from till about 10th standard is roughly around 95, 96 or 98%, if I'm right, because I saw this report some 2 years back. And the problem is from 98% in 10th standard, it drastically reduces to under 60% by the time it comes to a graduate level. And there also the problem is only the top 5 to 10% get into some level of professional skilling. Be that it might be, that is not our real concern. Today, we are vying for the third largest economy in the world, right? So we are in a zone of excellence. So I do disagree with Dr. Sharad Kohli when he says that, I see the glass is half full, because when you're in a zone of excellence, half empty doesn't work. It is to be as full as it can be.
Okay.
We are talking about getting 99%. Nothing less than that will take us, keep us there in the top 3. In war and in cutting edge excellence, there are no silver medalists.
Okay,
so if you're
right.
talking about gold medalists, we need to be perfect. I'm talking about excellence and perfection. And that is where we are lagging, and we need to start our race. We need to be more committed in our resources. That is where the money will come from growth. And this money has to be committed, flowed back, and that is where this country will remain in the place that it is supposed to be.
Fair enough, sir. We're moving, we're trudging ahead. It's a long way to go. Of course, the potential is right there. The examples have been set by the historians, by our technocrats, the examples that have been set with the people who have made history, with ISRO, with C.V. Raman, with Sushruta. It only is a matter of applying all these learnings that we have been provided over the decades, over the centuries, and implement them. On that note, I slip into a short break. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. Thanks for watching NewsX.